Are you on the hunt for the ultimate bang for your buck graphics card? Well, look no further, because a cheap GPU doesn't always mean compromising on performance. Navigating the world of GPUs these days is extremely difficult, with so many options at so many different price points. And let's not forget, a graphics card is not just a component, it's the heart of your PC build. From AMD's Radeon RX 6950 XT to the NVIDIA RTX 4070, it isn't always easy to tell which one is actually better. So, let's take a look at the best graphics cards that you can buy for $600. The AMD Radeon RX 7600, $400. Meet the AMD Radeon RX 7600, a budget-friendly GPU that brings the power of AMD RDNA 3 technology to the table without breaking the bank. And the best part? It delivers some serious performance despite its price of just under $400. When it comes to gaming at 1080p resolution, this card is a champ. It performs incredibly well, giving even the NVIDIA RTX 3060 Ti 12GB a run for its money. And don't think that it doesn't have good performance at 1440p either. Despite having 8GB of VRAM and a 128-bit memory bus, it holds its own quite well, and it gives you a gaming experience that will not disappoint. At 1080p resolution, you can expect a smooth 60 frames per second across all of your favorite PC games, even when you crank up the graphics settings to the max. Even for more demanding titles like Cyberpunk 2077, you might need to make a few adjustments, but it's definitely doable, especially with a little help from the AMD's Fidelity FX Super Resolution. Now, while its ray tracing capabilities aren't quite as powerful as what you'd find in NVIDIA's previous gen mid-range cards, RDNA 3 has made some serious strides in closing the gap. This means you don't have to miss out on ray tracing if you pay less for a cheap AMD card. Asus Dual GeForce RTX 4060 Ti, $400. NVIDIA rounded off its series of desktop graphics cards built on the Ada Lovelace architecture with the RTX 4060. While there's a chance of a desktop 4050 being in the pipeline and the potential for refresh models if needed, the 4060 Ti from Asus is currently the best bang for your buck at $400. But there are a few drawbacks you want to consider. NVIDIA made the choice to narrow down the memory interface to 128 bits, which limits the available memory options. While it's possible to have a 16GB variant, the standard configuration, for now, remains 8GB, and there are no expected changes. On the positive side, NVIDIA has delivered on its promise of improved performance compared to the earlier RTX 3060. Although there are specific instances in certain games where the 12GB on the RTX 3060 might give it an edge, the performance falls below levels by that point. For example, in Borderlands 3, even the non-TI 4060 managed 26.5 frames per second compared to the 3060's 28.9 frames per second at 4K badass settings. Neither experience is stellar, even though the 3060 is technically faster because the 4060 Ti can't quite catch up to the RTX 3060 Ti without the help of DLSS 3 and frame generation. The added advantage here is that you're getting access to all of the latest features that the Ada architecture brings, including DLSS 3 support. Additionally, the power consumption is quite low, only 115 watts for the reference model, and even with overclocking, it doesn't go beyond 125 watts. Another positive note is that most RTX 4060 cards don't have the huge 16-pin power connector that ruins the look of your PC build, so, there's that plus. Radeon RX 6800 XT, $530. AMD's Navi 21 GPUs, like the Radeon RX 6800 XT, can still offer good value compared to newer options. But the availability of the models like the base 6800, 6800 XT, 6900 XT, and 6950 XT tends to change quite a lot. Right now, the 6800 XT is only $10 to $20 more expensive than the 6800, making the choice quite clear. But keep an eye out for potential price drops on the RX 6800 as AMD tries to sell off the remaining stock. All these GPUs are built on AMD's previous generation RDNA 2 architecture. It was decent when it launched in late 2020, and it still holds up well for most games today. But don't expect the best ray tracing performance. As for pricing, the RX 6800 XT starts at $500, fitting neatly between Nvidia's new RTX 4070 and RTX 4060 Ti in terms of cost. It also comes with double the VRAM of the 4060 Ti and 50% more than the 4070. Overall performance lands about 10% lower than the 4070 and about 15% above the 4060 Ti. But keep in mind that other Navi 21 based GPUs might have better performance at a lower price sometimes. A major factor boosting AMD's performance is the 128MB Infinity Cache, which ups effective bandwidth by a significant 119%, as per AMD's claims. Most games today don't demand more than 16GB of VRAM, so the 6800 XT is well positioned in that regard. But some games do require more computational power, so having 16GB VRAM doesn't guarantee excellent performance on its own. On the flip side, ray tracing performance isn't particularly strong due to AMD's RDNA 2 architecture and the absence of hardware BVH traversal. There's no presence of tensor cores or DLSS, but FSR2 offers some compensation. With RDNA 3 cards now available, it's worth wondering when we might see something like the RX 7700 series that offers better performance and efficiency than the 2-year-old GPU. And hopefully at a lower price point, but that could take some time. GeForce RTX 3070 Ti, $529. Let's take a look back at Nvidia's offering from the RTX 30 series, because it's still a strong contender to consider. The RTX 3070 Ti stands out as an attractive graphics card option, and it won't cost you more than $529 these days. What's impressive is its ability to handle up to 4K resolution while maintaining solid all-around performance. And that's not all, because it brings some great features to the table, including advanced ray tracing capabilities and efficient encoding. Under the hood, the GPU features the GA104-400M processor, constructed using Samsung's 8nm process. Its clever engineering packs over 17.4 billion transistors into a 392mm square die. Even though it's an older generation, it still has respectable performance with 8GB of GDDR6X memory connected through a 256-bit bus running at 19GB per second, which delivers a bandwidth of up to 608.3GB per second. While this might seem a bit low for today's demanding games, the card manages quite well with its base clock of 1575MHz, which can also be boosted up to 1770MHz. Even at these levels, the RTX 3070 Ti holds its grounds as a very powerful GPU, especially with Nvidia's ray tracing technology and efficient encoding. While it might not have the most VRAM for modern games, it still achieves high frame rates at full 4K resolution. GeForce RTX 4070, $639. We're in the middle of a GPU transition from the old to the new generation, and it's a very tough decision. The RTX 4070, while not blowing us away with extreme performance or amazing value, it's actually holding its ground pretty well at $638. It's basically on par with the previous generation's RTX 3080, yet it's powered by the latest Ada Lovelace architecture and features, all at a lower cost of $100. Now, Nvidia isn't exactly winning awards for affordability. Their pricing tends to be on the higher side, but compared to other options out there, the RTX 4070 still stands out. In terms of overall performance, it's almost neck and neck with AMD's RX 6950 XT. It's a tad slower in one aspect and faster in another. Plus, it supports DLSS. But the real bonus is in its power efficiency. With a power consumption of around 200 watts, it sips about half as much energy as many factory overclocked RX 6950 XT cards. Nvidia is quite excited about the speed boost you get with the RTX 40 series when you turn on DLSS 3 frame generation. Surprisingly, the RTX 4070 has been fairly easy to find at its suggested price since it launched. This could suggest that there isn't a huge demand for upper mainstream parts at premium prices. If you're eyeing those fancier factory overclocked versions with more RGB lighting, you'll likely have to cough up an extra $20 to $50. But rest assured, the RTX 4070 outperforms the previous generation's RTX 3070 Ti quite comfortably, and at the same price point and with an impressive overall improvement of around 23%. With above average cooling and strong overall performance, these cards are probably the most solid choices at their price ranges. In fact, unlike some of the newer cards, they are very popular for budget PC builds. So, tell us in the comments about any other graphics cards that we might have missed out and could potentially be better options at this price point. And as always, be sure to leave a like for more content like this in the future.